What's up, folks? David Soto Jr. here, coming to you from Golden, Colorado. It's the middle of the day. It's gorgeous. Sun is out. Charging my solar generator here, and plenty of sun. And I have to tell you that I have some good news. I mean, one of my current struggles is my mental health. And that's not easy to admit, especially to the world, you know. But I've dealt with some issues my entire life, and I had to finally admit that I need help. So let's start from the beginning. Well, not from the beginning, but let's go back 2 years. 2 years ago, almost exactly 2 years ago, I got involved with a woman, and we jumped into our relationship head first. Or with both feet, as they say. Not an unusual thing for me. I've been known to do that a lot, which is, according to Dr. Hallowell, a symptom of ADHD. So that relationship, I gave up my van life and went to Mexico for the purpose of pursuing a relationship, a long-term committed relationship with this woman who was a Mexican resident and couldn't come to the United States. Things went bad right away, really fast. And what ended up happening was she left, went back home, and I stayed in Mexico for the duration of the time that I had rented the apartment. In that time, I started reading, because what was going on was I was seeing things in her. Not necessarily, no, I take that back. I was seeing things in myself. I was hearing myself say things that other partners in my life have said to me over the years. And that made me realize this is how it feels to date me, to be with me, to be my spouse or my significant other. This is what you have to go through. And that's when I realized that it was time to get help. I started reading, researching and reading, buying books. And I was reading a book on Asperger's, which was really, really, really eye-opening. But I realized that wasn't me. There's a lot of things about that I can relate to, Asperger's, but I realized that I didn't have, to me, I didn't diagnose myself, but I realized that I did not have enough of those symptoms. So I started reading books on ADD, and I came across Dr. Hallowell's book. It's actually his second book on ADD, and that was an eye-opener. I always knew I took some stupid test on the internet or something, and it was like, wow, you really have ADD. But so what? So I have ADD, or I thought I did, from a test on the internet. It didn't really mean shit. And reading Dr. Hallowell's book says nothing means you have ADD unless you get a diagnosis. And you cannot diagnose yourself. And his book was clear. So my goal was to get the hell out of Mexico so that I can start getting care at the VA, mental health. I wanted to stop being that person that was a pain in the ass to be in a relationship with. So I came back to the States. I talked to my buddy who lives here in Colorado Springs, and I told him that I needed a place to call my home for a little while so that I can get a diagnosis and start maybe getting on some meds or getting some treatment for my ADD. So my buddy said, sure, no problem, come on up. So I came up to Colorado Springs, kind of made myself at home at his place, and made my appointments for the VA. That was my summer of 2016. And I finally got an appointment and finally got a meeting with a psychologist and a diagnosis, and I was fucking pissed because he just seemed like a young kid who, because I was talking about traveling and leaving, they kind of gave me to him. He made this diagnosis and say, sorry, you don't have ADD. I'm like, but dude, every fucking symptom by that leads to ADD, I have. He goes, yeah, but I don't think that's it because of some trauma that you may have experienced, blah, blah, blah. So I was pissed. I left the VA that day and I fucking bawled, man. I cried. And there's one thing Dr. Hallowell says is that if you, sometimes the diagnosis is a game changer. Sometimes the diagnosis may be all you need, or maybe enough to get things started. And that's all I wanted was an explanation for my entire life. An explanation for my entire life. And this fucking young kid just kicked that in the nuts and said, sorry. And I was really disappointed, and I didn't know what to do, and I went without help, and suffered through about a year, over a year or so, of just saying or hearing, or I'm sorry, I'm distracted, somebody's walking by. I went through a year of just dealing with it. Back to square one. Like, oh, I wanted help, but I'm not getting it. So, oh well, fuck it. And I knew that wasn't going to work. So, one of the things I noticed was my eating habits, which I was trying to find a word, was my indulgence, comfort foods. I was not having any control over the foods that I was eating, and the overeating, and a trip that I took to San Antonio, which led to a 3-pound cinnamon roll. That's a whole nother story, but I didn't eat the whole thing, but I made a good attempt to, and I paid for it. And that was kind of my like rock bottom, and that's what let me know that I had to do something. And when I had some eye trouble. I needed reading glasses, is what it was. And so I was like, let me go to the VA. And so I established care here in Golden. I started working. I've been working at the job up in Central City. And I decided that while I'm here, let me go to mental health and see if I can get a second opinion. That was a couple months ago. And today I got my second opinion. Today I saw the doctor, and he said, so what we're looking at is your concern is depression and ADD, and you don't agree with what you were told before. And I said, yeah, I mean, I got a very vague, very general diagnosis, in that, to be honest, I could have gave myself that diagnosis without the years of training. Like, I didn't know that I didn't need to be I don't need a doctor to tell me, or a psychologist to tell me that I have mild depression, general personality. So I don't need a fucking pro to tell me that. I know that shit. I've known it for quite a while. Anyways, I wasn't so angry with the doctor. But I did tell him that I don't think I need years of training in order to be able to tell myself that I have a mild depression. And he kind of laughed and said, and kind of agreed. But he addressed, he goes, what symptoms do you want to deal with? And like, what makes you think you have, you know, what makes you think you have ADD? And like, well, one thing I'm noticing a lot is my hypervigilance. Basically, what that means is I'm on guard all the time, looking, watching for people, thinking somebody's up to no good or going to do something, and I'm suspicious of people, and I think people want to fight me. I, I, I unroll the scenario in my mind that this person's going to do this, and then I'm going to have to do this, and then it's going to be a fight. Maybe it'll be a fist fight, maybe it'll be a gunfight. And then the person does something like, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "Hey, guy, hey." And I'm genuinely not, and I catch myself. I'm like, I have so much anger and hate towards this person that we're going to have to fight to the death. And then all of a sudden, this person's nice to me, and I'm like, oh, and I am genuinely nice back. I see this almost every day now. So I told him about that, and then he started asking some questions, and he looked up a questionnaire, asked me the questionnaire. I have no signs of hyperactivity, but he said I was one question away from slam dunking the ADD portion. So there wasn't even a need for a fancy test that takes hours long that I took. He asked me if I wanted to address the depression or the hypervigilance, and I said I want to address the assholeness. I want to stop being an asshole, and that's that shortness, the bluntness, the complete honesty that I am with people, the way that I say things that are offensive, like that affects my personal relationships, and that's the most important thing to me right now. He mentioned some meds, and he mentioned some things that seemed very familiar because of Dr. Hallowell's books. And I knew right away that that's what I wanted. And before we finished, I says, "Can I ask you a question? Do you think I need meds?" And he basically said that what he wants to put me on has a very high chance. I have a very high chance of seeing improvement in the things I want to improve on by being on meds. So he wrote me a script, and obviously I don't have a place. It has to be mailed to me, so it's getting mailed at my buddy's house, so I won't see it for a few days. But I'm gonna be on meds, and I'm running out of time here, but I can't even start to express how that makes me feel. It feels awesome just to think that a doctor thinks that I do have symptoms enough that he wants me to be on meds. So, folks, I appreciate you tuning in. Thanks a lot. My YouTube folks, this is my I got 15 minutes, and then I gotta cut it short. So this is a big deal to me, and I appreciate you tuning in and coming along with me, and I will fill you in after I start my Adderall. Let's see. Who knows what happened? I have to tell you, I've been self-medicating for years, whether it's booze, sex, never drugs, but food, caffeine, tobacco, you name it. So people always are concerned about being on meds. I was one of them, but like I said, let's face it, I've been medicating for a long time. So appreciate you. Peace out.